training as an actor because I've been interested in acting since I was a kid, and I kind of fell off with it because music kind of overcame me, and I want to get back into it a little bit. So I found this book and I want to start reading it, but my ADD is such that I have to read it out loud first. So this book was written by Sonia Moore, who was born in Russia. She attended University of Kiev and Moscow, Studio of Kiev Solostov Theater, has degrees from conservatories in Rome, now teaches in New York. Of course, this is an old book, so she's probably not with us anymore, I would think. This was written in 1968. She could be, who knows? She has a lot of acknowledgments to a lot of Russian-sounding people, and then a quote that goes, "Great artistic work requires the ability to look into the heart of today's spectators, into the soul of a role, and into the heart of the actor who will play it. This requires technique and stamina. First, educate a group of actors, and then you will have a play in a theater." Second quote by Vladimir Nemirovich Danchenko is, "It is possible to construct a magnificent building, to light and heat it magnificently, to assemble an orchestra and set designers, and to engage a wonderful administrator and director, and yet there will be no theater. There will only be a well-kept building. But when 3 actors come to a square, spread a small rug on the ground and begin to perform, there is theater." Third quote is, "It has long been recognized that without a permanent company, few actors can thrive indefinitely. However, it must also be faced that even a permanent company is doomed to deadliness in the long run if it is without aim, and thus without a method, and thus without a school. And by a school, naturally, I don't mean a gymnasium where the actor exercises his limbs in limbo. Flexing muscles alone cannot develop an art. Scales don't make a pianist, nor does fingerwork help a painter's brush." That's Somi. "Yet a great pianist practices finger exercises for many hours a day, and Japanese painters spend their lives practicing to draw a perfect circle. The art of practicing is in some ways the most exacting one of all. And without constant schooling, the actor will stop halfway." That's Peter Brook. I don't know who Peter Brook is. Anyway. And here is the foreword. Okay, Somi, okay. "This book has been prepared to demonstrate how an actor is trained in a class." Hi, Liam. "4 years of study are required for assimilation of the Stanislavski system." Hello, Emin. "But since in their 3rd and 4th years, the actor students work on full-length plays to put into practice the techniques they have learned and to acquire experience, the 24 chapters concentrate mainly on the 1st and 2nd years of the training." Thank you. "As the work of the actor students proceeds through these typical sessions, I hope the reader will see why the system should be the required training for all actors. It's also my hope that the book will dispel the distortions which sometimes undermine the very basis of the system. Some say that the system cannot be discussed, just as musicians play their instruments rather than discuss their techniques. But music teachers and students do talk about their techniques, and we should be able to talk about those of acting. Those who say, 'Oh, I know Stanislavski backward and forward,' but why should we use only the Stanislavski system? We want to broaden our horizons and use all the methods. And those who quote Stanislavski out of context should know that they are speaking about only certain stages of his work." Okay, take care, Liam. "In order to be absolutely up to date, I have been engaged for years in research on Stanislavski's writings and the works of Russian theater experts and scientists who study his teachings. Stanislavski's writings have been collected, thoroughly studied, and commented upon by Russian specialists. The publication of his writings was completed in Russia only in 1961. Few of these and practically none of the works of those who research his teachings have been translated into English. And the fact is that there is no other method of acting but Stanislavski's. Work on speech, diction, voice, Shakespeare, historical ceremonies, and the wearing of costumes is obligatory for actors, as are classes in body movements such as dance, fencing, and acrobatics. But the psychological technique, the Stanislavski system, is also obligatory. It is as important for actors and directors as the theory and technique of music are to musicians. Many great men of letters, Diderot, Paradox of Acting, Lessing, Hamburg Dramaturgy, and Goethe, Rules for Actors, and such actors as Irving, Talma, Riccobini, Iflin, Rossi, Salvini, and Coquelin, I don't know any of those, but tried to formulate laws for dramatic creativity. But only Stanislavski succeeded in reconciling the contradictions between the actor as creator and the actor as character. And he alone developed a concrete technique by which an actor consciously transforms his psychological and physical behavior into those of the character and creates a new, unique life of a man with every role. Stanislavski alone discovered and systemized the laws that lead an actor to his ultimate goal: reincarnation, the state in which he creates subconsciously. And that is credited to the contemporary Polish director Jerzy Grotowski, who has stirred a great deal of interest in America, experiments with the expression of the inner life. Readers of this book will recognize in his work Stanislavski's teachings on physical and verbal actions. The American director William Ball seems to be concerned with the same problem. Stanislavski's system is neither a religious cult nor an aesthetics dissertation. It is the technique of an art. Every creative process demands great concentration of the artist's spiritual forces. The fact that an actor creates before his audience makes an especially difficult demand on his willpower. The peculiarities of dramatic art, the exceptional conditions in which the actor's creative process takes place, were determined with astonishing precision by Stanislavski. Through his system, actors can consciously control their imagination and emotions, their whole psychic and physical nature. Like musicians and dancers, actors must learn their art step by step. Stanislavski said that the most dangerous dilettante is the one who denies the need for technique and insists that it interferes with inspiration. As Tyrone Guthrie has said, the greatest drama is absolutely and elaborately prescribed, and the greatest acting contains a minimum of spontaneous invention and a maximum of carefully calculated effect repeated with only minute variations at every performance of the same part. Dramatic performance, therefore, is concerned with repeating a series of intelligibly prescribed actions in order to form an intelligibly prescribed design. One of the gravest distortions of Stanislavski in the American theater has occurred in regard to the actor's physical training. An actor's control over his body should be as complete as that of a dancer. And Stanislavski was relentless in his demand for control in speech. Love the comma, he said. It will make others listen to you. It serves as a warning, like a raised hand. Bad speech, he said, is often responsible for overacting, tension and banal gestures, and artificial intonations. He insisted that actors be rhythmical, musical, plastic. The actor must learn to shape his speech into contrast in order to disclose its meaning. The phrasing must be worked out in a completely conscious manner. American actors know very little about working on speech from the point of view of rhythm and music. In England, where no method cult has been created and where physical training has always been given great importance, the level of theater is much higher than here. The physical excellence that Stanislavski demands is intimately related to the psychological side of the technique. In giving actors the most important place in theater, Stanislavski imposes a heavy responsibility on them. He does not believe that even good education and professional skill are sufficient, but subordinates these creative requirements to ethical demands. The most important of his views is his demand for harmony between the actor's personality and his professional work. The actor must also have a sense of responsibility toward his fellow actors. A theater where an individual star is the center of attention is not art, Stanislavski felt, but a deviation from it. Theater cannot depend on one person. It is an ensemble, and it is disrupted when actors have different habits or techniques and no common training. Such actors interfere with instead of helping each other. No single actor, not even a great one, can be responsible for the situation on stage if he is surrounded by a void. Theater, in order to present an image of man in his many aspects, must have actors who are properly trained and who realize that they are dependent on one another. Ethics is the foundation of Stanislavski's aesthetics. The life of the human spirit, infused with poetry, deeply felt, impregnated with truth, will reveal not only a unique person, but a universal phenomenon. Thus, it takes on not only personal, but social significance. Stanislavski firmly believed that theater ought to contribute to the moral and aesthetic education of the people. When the Moscow Art Theater, founded by Stanislavski and Nemirovich Dachenko, opened in 1898 with actors of gigantic talent, it was criticized as a group of poor actors. It was Stanislavski who realized the theater of social significance cannot depend on talent alone. The art of directing and acting has reached its high level in Russia because of Stanislavski's discovering and his aesthetic and ethical principles. His reform embraced all facets of the theater. Stanislavski himself was a brilliant actor, and his portrayals of Ostrov in Uncle Vanya, Vershinin in The Three Sisters, and Giev in The Cherry Orchards are considered the best in Russian theater. Vesevold Meyerhold said, "Those who knew Stanislavski only when he was old do not have the slightest idea about him as an actor." Yeah, but Dostoevsky's great, but he's a writer of novels. This is about acting, Stanislavski was an outstanding actor with an astonishing technique. If I am anyone at all, it is only because I spent years next to him. Stanislavski is an actor with hands which handle the rapier masterfully, with a healthy and agile body, with a voice of enormous range, with a face of overwhelming expressiveness, even without the makeup, with love of rich theatrical costume and a penchant for Shakespeare, Moliere, Pushkin, and Schiller. Meyerhold believed that Stanislavski's vocation was the incarnate on stage that Pushkin called the truth of passions, as well as the masks of exaggeration. This was true also of Stanislavski's directing in such productions as The Inspector General, The Days of Turbany, The Marriage of Figaro, The Passionate Heart, Othello, Armored Train. He demonstrated his superior ability in bold and vivid portrayals, profound subtlety, and superb grace. These productions of the director-composer, as Russian director Yuri Zavadsky called him, became milestones in Russian theater. It is wrong to consider Stanislavski an exclusively naturalistic director. Superficial knowledge of Stanislavski's technique has created another point in confusion about what he called truth. Life truth is often confused with theater's. Stanislavski insisted on theater's truth. Photographic truth on stage, he recognized, often distorts reality. He laughed at actors who were satisfied to eat, drink, smoke, or speak naturally. Yes, the audience must believe that this is the way the man eats, drinks, smokes, and speaks, but every character is natural in a different way. Every character must have a different timbre in his voice and a different way of moving his body. Since every play presents a different world, each will give its own organic dramatic truth. The system is a means of finding it. How long is this forward? I think I'm gonna read another page and come back later because I want to go get something to eat. Actually, I'm gonna stop right here at In the Inspector General. I will come back and read more. I got to brush my teeth and get ready to go on a walk, and I'll see you soon.